All right, everybody. Talking Minneapolis. And this is actually going to be a two-parter I do. So I'll have a Tuesday video on this and a Wednesday video looking at some different aspects of it. And if you've seen any of my videos in the past talking about this particular subject, you know that I love this for the people of Minneapolis, but it's not why you might think. So let's cover a couple articles here today, Tuesday video, and then we'll get into a couple more on Wednesday. Well, check this out. Minneapolis City Council moves to defund police, establish holistic public safety force. This is an NPR article. Take a quick look at this photo here. Where's Waldo kind of thing. Keep this in mind, and we'll come back to this shortly. You'll see why. The Minneapolis City Council on Friday unanimously approved a proposal to eliminate the city's police department, marking the first step towards establishing a new holistic approach to public safety. The move follows more than a month of national outrage and protests against police brutality in the wake of the killing of Jorge Floyd, a black man who died. Yeah, okay, we know all that. Definitely a tragedy. And everybody's going to be keeping their eye on what happens with Chauvin and the other police in the judicial system. The police force, which is largely white, has long struggled to reflect the racial makeup of the city. Why is it that POCs don't want to become police? Something worth examining. Has come under even greater scrutiny as public cries to defund the department have gained traction among elected officials. Young black and brown people in the streets made this happen. Black organizers demanding abolition for generations made this happen. Miskin, whatever his name is, her name, I don't know, of Black Visions Collective said in a statement. So remember that photo I said to keep in mind? And granted, this is just one photo, but here, young black and brown people in the streets made this happen, according to somebody. Let's go back to that photo real quick. You may not see it as clearly on your screens as I do. Blow it up. Let's take like I said, a Where's Waldo look at where the black and brown people are in this photo. Let me look real close. I see some up in the, kind of like towards where that statue is. I think that's Martin Luther King figurine up there. I guess they're counting that as one of the black protesters. There's a couple behind there. Oh, there's a black guy there in a gray shirt by the defund MPD sign. A white man saying he's getting sick of the racist stuff. A white man holding a Black Lives Matter sign. Another white person holding a Black Lives Matter sign. Defund, abolish, imagine, rebuild sign being held by a white person. Defund MPD being held by a white person. Oh, there's another BLM by a white person. Interesting. You know I'm having some fun with this, right? All right, back to the article. Now, on this new terrain, Minneapolis can start practicing a new vision of safety that defends black lives. And you see what I always say. When they say, any organization, when they say people of color, they don't really mean everyone else other than black people. They'll tell you what they mean with their words. A new vision of safety that defends black lives. And that's why I always say I can never support an organization that only supports one color of individual. If you're an organization that supports veterans or homeless or at-risk youth, those are organizations I can get behind because, and even religious organizations, whatever those are, because within those organizations, you can have all kinds of people. You can have both genders, men or women, and you can have all races, ethnicities, whatever you want to define it as, contained within those. But when you have something that says, oh, we're for black this, we're for Asian that, we're for Mexican this, white that, whatever it may be. Where for women this, men that, tend not to be as supportive or supportive as all, because I'm all about the people. I'm not this virtuous liberal out there trying to act like I'm for everybody, who then only gets behind organizations that divide or support only one type of people. I'm for all the people. So any organization that is out there claiming that they're for POCs, and then you hear their rhetoric, and they talk about only one race of people, you can fool a lot of dumb liberals into believing that stuff, but you can't play me with that stuff. I listen to your words and I know what you're about. And like I said, I don't ever support an organization that's only about one type of person, whether that's a class, a race, whatever have you, a gender even. So while Noor was critical of the shortcomings of the amendment passed Friday, she added, oh, so it is a woman, we're closer than any time in history and anywhere else in the country to a safe, thriving city without police. We'll see about that. Under a proposed plan, the city would eliminate the existing police department and replace it with a Department of Community Safety and Violence Prevention, which will have responsibility for public safety services, prioritizing a holistic, public-oriented approach. We'll skip down to the bottom and just let me put this out there, and I was wondering about this as well, but it says here in the last paragraph, despite unanimous support Friday, the amendment faces a number of bureaucratic obstacles before voters can vote on it in November. So November is what you're looking at. So Minneapolis residents, we'll see if they're ready to put their money where their mouth is. And just out of curiosity, I looked. Minneapolis is 64% white, 18% black, and then it was 10% Hispanic. That's what, 92, and then another 8, obviously Asian, Native American, whatever else. So we'll see what the Minneapolis residents feel about this come November. Now, on to the hypocrisy of it all. And some of you are familiar with this, and this is where I love it. This is where it gets great. This is where people show you what they're really about. Like I said, with these organizations here that only talk about one particular type of person, here's when you know you've got a phony. This is a town hall article, right-leaning publication, obviously. A lot of you know that. After voting to abolish cops, Minneapolis city council members hire private security. There it is, folks. There is the hustle. Police for me, but not for thee. You gotta love that. The Minneapolis City Council voted unanimously. Okay, we know that part. But Fox 9 learned the city is now spending $4,500 a day on private security for 3 city council members following the death of Jorge Floyd. A city spokesperson told Fox 9 that security details have already cost the city $63,000 over the past 3 weeks. Ooh, baby, gotta love it. So, forget, I can't even weigh in on this. Let's read a little bit more here. The Minneapolis City Council is comprised of 12 Democratic Farmer Labor members and 1 Green Party of Minneapolis member. The 3 members provided private security are Andrea Jenkins, Philippe Cunningham, and Alondra Cano, all outspoken supporters of defunding police. So these leftists hire muscle to protect themselves, but abolish cops who protect everyone else. Something tells me the private security guards don't have graduate degrees in social work. It's interesting, and I haven't read this article, but I'm going to go on and say this, that if they contacted these individuals for a statement, they would probably make this claim, like all people do in these situations, that in spite of them trying to do what they claim is best for the residents and protect black and brown folk, that their lives are under threat. They get threats every day, thus the need for private security. Let's go on. Maybe the article will talk about it, though. I don't feel comfortable publicly discussing the death threats against me or, there it is, the level of security I currently have protecting me from those threats, said Councilmember Cunningham in a text message to Fox 9, adding the private security was only temporary. I bet he doesn't feel comfortable discussing it. My concern is the large number of white nationalists in our city and other threats. communications I've been receiving, wrote Councilmember Jenkins in an email to Fox 9. And that was Andrea Jenkins who wrote that. So for all those darn white nationalists that allowed her to get elected to whatever district she came from, must have been all those darn white nationalists out there that voted against her. Ooh. Like I said, they'll always make excuses, people in power, of why they misuse or misappropriate your funds. It'll be interesting to see how Minneapolis reacts to this now that the truth is out there. And my guess is that they'll probably let it slide. Liberals will probably, and especially for those individuals of color on the council, that liberal individuals will be willing to sacrifice their own safety so these very important council members, because they're not replaceable at all, can have private security. All right, let's read a little bit more. So she gets private security to protect her from whatever boogeyman keeps her up at night. But those looted store owners and Minneapolis residents, beat to a pulp, will be on their own. Jenkins said she's been requesting private security since she was sworn into office. Since day one she was sworn in. Makes you wonder that if somebody needs private security, makes you wonder what they think they're doing or about to do that's going to cause a lot of people to hate them. The other council member, Cano, didn't respond to Fox 9. The soon-to-be scrapped Minneapolis PD told Fox 9 that while it's possible a police report could be filed confidentially, the department has no recent reports of any threats made against council members. Jenkins, who claims she's been threatened and attacked over her ethnicity, gender, identity, and sexuality, boom, she laid it out there. She got all four covered. Wait, I'm sure there's more. Come on, she's forgetting some. She's forgetting some isms and itties and alities. Says she didn't have time to report the threats to the police department because she's been too busy. Oh, yeah. I'm sure those city council members have such an important job. They're just so busy. You want to know what privilege looks like in America? This is it. And obviously he's referring to the council. And that's true. It's interesting, always, how this works out. And people who are, say, whatever movement you're for. Let's say in this case it's kind of a far leftist type movement or a far leftist type council. That they think that the further woke they go or the more woke they become, that they're going to be safe. But I think what you'd realize, and don't quote me exactly on this, I'm not a historian, the more a revolution tends to happen amongst the populace, and I'm not saying that's happening, but when revolutions happen, they tend to go after the elites first, and no amount of security is going to keep people safe. Those security members can be bought, obviously. So should a group come into power that's far more left than these council members, they'd be the first ones to be on the chopping block, in my opinion. Say some really far radical type communist type individuals were able to gain power in Minneapolis or decided, hey, now we want the power. These council members better watch out because money talks, baby, and those private security members can be bought. All right, so that's part one of my video. I'm going to have another part tomorrow, talking more about some neighborhoods in Minneapolis and what they're trying to do in New York. So thanks for watching part one of this video, everybody. Tune in tomorrow for the next part. Hopefully you all are well out there, and again, privilege, and we'll see what happens come November.